Welcome to the Koz and Bru Show!
Yeah.
What is up, brother? Koz? Are you watching Ambassador Sondland over there?
Dude, I was a little bit. I just for a split second. It's kind of funny though. He's kind of like, he's like kind of like giving these dramatic pauses. Like we're gonna just talk for about 30 seconds about this thing, this impeachment thing. Like the other people that testify, though, they're like not politicians, so they're just kind of rough and like not, they're just not polished. When I used to seeing people like that on television, right? And so like this dude's like he's like got these like smirks and stuff, and he's like got these dramatic pauses. And it's like, dude, just spit it out, man. What do you this ain't the Sondland show, man. Just spit out your thing and let's go with it, man.
Yeah, I feel like I'm missing out on the good part. I want to hear what the Republicans say after this guy's done talking. Because, yeah, good luck having a point after when he's done. Hey, everybody. It's the Koz and Bru Show. We're back.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's high time for us to have a show here. The NBA has moved into the, I don't know, like... it's not the first 3 weeks of the season, so we can actually talk about stuff, with some degree of seriousness and or not seriousness. But I got to tell you, Koz, I was thinking before the show, you sent over the show notes, like what we're going to talk about. And I'm sitting there going, maybe Koz is going to let me talk about the Kings today. And then you just came out and said it. You're like, you know what? If you want to talk about the Kings today, we can talk about the Kings today. And the funny thing is, I don't really want to talk about the Kings. I spend entirely too much time talking about the Kings, but maybe we will talk about the Kings a little bit. But I liked your topics. We're talking about the biggest surprise of the year, biggest disappointment of the year, and then you dropped in a little Ja Morant, and I got excited. And I almost tweeted, and I should have. It's just one of those things where you think of something, you just don't do it. Your take on Ja Morant being possibly better than Zion is one of... first of all, I didn't hear it anywhere else. Anywhere.
Oh, you talking about before the season?
Yeah, I didn't hear it anywhere. I don't know. Did you hear it anywhere?
No. I thought there was some people that were kind of like alluding to it. And I don't think I actually said he's going to be better. I think I said it was not going to surprise me or whatever. And I think there was a couple of people who were like alluding to that, but just that they still would take Zion the number one pick just because of the backlash you'd get, and if he had like he got hurt or something, it would have been just like you should have taken Zion, but yeah, I didn't hear anyone come out and say he's going to be better than
Well, we'll talk about his game in detail a little bit towards the end of the show because it's a fascinating it's a fascinating player, and I've been watching a lot of him because I picked him up in a lot of fantasy leagues, and I also picked up his teammate Brandon Clark in a lot of fantasy leagues. So I'm just watching all Grizzlies all the time, and we have a new Grizzlies show. I should tell everybody that
bad
will
loss for them last night though.
Yeah,
they gotta beat them. They gotta pound that Warriors team. That's a bad loss for them.
They've played a lot of. Let's say this, but like they played a lot of games really well, and it almost feels like they're running out of gas, which is weird in like the first 3 weeks of the season. But we'll hit them up when we talk about Ja.
People think like a young team's supposed to have a ton of energy. It's like, but people don't realize that young players don't know how to get in shape yet for an 82-game season.
They don't know how to get in shape, and then the grind itself, like when it hits them, they haven't felt it in the past, and it's a mental grind. But maybe we'll save that for when we talk about Ja. But biggest surprises, if we're not talking about the Kings, and I don't think we are, the league is working out kind of the way that I think most of us thought it would. So when I looked at big surprises for this upcoming year, I mean, I kind of want to ask you so I don't take what you say right off the table, because I feel like there are only a few surprises, and I'm interested to think if you had one that I don't have. So let me ask you, what is your big surprise of the year, Koz?
I think like I think I don't remember where I put the Celtics, but I am a little. I think it speaks to a lot of things that we've talked about on this show. Most importantly, Kyrie Irving and his effect on a team.
Mm.
But I'm a little surprised how doesn't it seem like the Celtics has been playing with Kemba Walker for like years? I mean,
Well, they did play in Team USA together. So,
yeah, okay.
like all 10 of them, the Boston Celtics went across the pond, and that's why they suck. No, just kidding. But I was really shocked myself when they came into Sacramento, and I mean, I looked and I was like, oh my God, they got a 10-game winning streak. I had no idea at all that they had a 10-game winning streak, and most definitely after I watched the way they played in Sacramento, which wouldn't have been surprising because, East Coast team on a West Coast road trip is pretty much all the way done, and they've won 10 in a row. They're banged up. They're already having no depth, that they would poop out in that game against the Kings I think it was at noon. So it just had everything working against it. It was such an easy bet on the Kings. That they would have 10 straight wins was just shocking to me, and that's Kemba. But to your point about Kyrie, that man, like he instantaneously messed the Nets up, just instantly. Like, I can tell you, if I didn't know anything about what's going on in Chicago, I could just be looking at their box score, and everybody's shooting 30% except for Zach LaVine. And you look at, it's the same thing in Brooklyn, every single player minus Kyrie is just struggling, and he's got his whatever 55-point game, right out the chute. And so yeah. I mean, Boston, they get optimized. They get the they're bigger players playing big minutes because they have to. I think that's a blessing in disguise. That's happened in Sacramento here. Guys that they get forced into action due to whatever, and then they just get a ton of feel with the ball, and then they really start balling out. So, but Boston.
It's pretty funny. Like when I watched them, I haven't seen a whole game. But it's like the chunks I've been able to watch, it's kind of like the blueprint of how a high level player should be playing with this team. The ball moves, everybody gets going, and then there's these specific spots where Kemba decides to be Kemba. And it's not necessarily and he doesn't do it if it comes in the second quarter, it just comes for that stretch. And then he picks the brakes back. And then they get going again. And then and then it goes along, and then when they need it, boom, he's Kemba again. And it's so simple. It's not like you don't have. If you're playing with a bunch of bad players, that's one thing. but you're not. So there's no need to just chuck the way that he does. So it's so funny that one guy can figure it out, a game into the season, and then the other guy is there for 2 seasons and never figures it out.
And they're so happy in Boston.
And they're so happy. That's the other thing. People are smiling. People are excited to go play a game for millions of dollars. It's pretty incredible.
Man, I'll tell you, I wish that they had done one thing, and that would have been kept Aaron Baines somehow, because that would make them really dangerous in the East. You're starting to see, and that I'll go to the low-hanging fruit that everybody's, no longer talking about because they're pretty much going to be dipping beneath 500 here. The Suns, came out, and Aaron Baines just, and it's funny because everybody's like Ricky Rubio this, Ricky Rubio that, and, it's real kind of also low-hanging fruit to be team with 50. I swear they had the most chuckers I've ever seen on one team last year. And then you bring in Ricky Rubio. It's the ultimate contrast. And but Aaron Baines, God, you just watch him. He jumps off the screen as far as, his lateral quickness is as good kind of as that. Not, there's probably a top tier of defender, and he might be a shade under that. But man, and then there's the meanness.
I don't know. I think it's just because he doesn't have the body type. Usually the bigs that can move their feet are a lot leaner than him. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of throws people off. But
he can jump too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, he moves as well as any big guy on the perimeter. I mean, I can't think of one. I mean, like, maybe like
Well,
I don't
Holmes.
know.
We'll talk about Holmes, but
Yeah, but he's not that big though.
no,
You
no,
know,
nobody's that big.
it-
He
so
might be
yeah,
the biggest kind of most powerful center in the league. I mean, I
yeah,
guess Joel. Well, but see, he's got Joel Embiid in athleticism. So
yeah.
if you were to find, and this is kind of an interesting
Well,
sidebar, he might be the perfect defender for a Shaq. Not maybe perfect, but like in today's NBA, like the only guy that has a shot against like a Shaq.
yeah. In today's NBA, because he's the only guy that would take
Like,
it. But
that would be reasonably close to being able to. That's
in
crazy.
yesterday's NBA, he would just be another victim because Shaq would never venture outside. You know? But today's NBA, he'd be perfect because no one would throw Shaq the ball.
They'd be like, no, you
I got his
can't play
name's Jordan.
Shaq. You don't take threes. Yeah. Boston, or pardon me, Phoenix is they're surprising, but not really. That's the thing. This is such a hard topic for me. I also had Minnesota. Just because they're playing a little bit over their head, even though we knew that they would run this year before the season started, and that was going to be a good thing. They seem to just generally like playing for Ryan Saunders, so I'm not too surprised that they're above 500 and doing pretty well. And then the Lakers, we're going to talk about Dwight Howard at the end of the show, so I might save my Lakers stuff for then, but. Phoenix, they just look like a better team with Baines on the floor, and I don't know if were you on this train as well, but like I've been talking about DeAndre Ayton is not good for a while, and not good, but like not. I mean, he was getting like rookie of the year consideration from people last year, and
Yeah, that was a little much. Unfortunately, I just don't know. And maybe Baines will help. He's one of those guys that unfortunately doesn't really know how to be a pro, and he doesn't. I mean, the big problem with him, my big thing was his motor in college, and that has translated. I mean, he started off pretty well, but then of course he's taking steroids, whatever the hell else he's got going on.
allegedly.
So, gave him a little bit of energy there. So he started off good.
Well, he looked more athletic than he
Yeah,
did previously. I noticed it right off the bat, and so there you go.
That to me shows like if you got to take stuff to lean up at 20 years old, that means that you're not really dedicated to your diet, and that's what that means that when we're talking about being a pro at 20 years old playing in the NBA. Having an NBA offseason, you should be able to lose whatever amount of weight you want. You want lean muscle, get your lean muscle. Like there's nothing that a professional athlete's body shouldn't be able to do at 20, as long as you're dedicated to the eating the proper things. So for him to have to still go down that route is unfortunate. But I'll root for him. But he certainly doesn't. Certainly, is not looking like a good number one selection compared to Doncic and Trae Young right now.
God. Well, and, I mean, speaking of Sacramento, they are hurting right now with Marvin Bagley on the shelf and Luka out there. And that might be my biggest, like, I didn't want to go there because we're talking teams and stuff, but, like, the Luka just sort of tour de force that he has been, and, I mean, God, there's just no stopping at this point. Like, he just keeps going and going, and they're big stat lines. It's not like Dallas plays like you think of teams that would really just turn something over to the guy and just let him go for 40, 10, and 10. Like Rick Carlisle doesn't jump off the page to me as the guy that's like, hey, you go out there and just win by yourself. He's just doing it.
And I think it also speaks to what it does for an organization when you never go down the tanking road.
Yeah.
Like you can be bad, but you don't ever set the standard of we are intentionally going to try to not win games. Like if you just, if you have a good run, you get bad draft picks and you fall back to the pack and a little bit below it, that's fine. But you don't ever say like, we are cleaning house today because we intentionally want to be one of the three worst teams in the league. And I think that the fact that they never do that is the reason that they have such a strong locker room and there's consistency. And, you know, a guy like Luka could come in and flourish because as much as people don't want to talk about it, the organization has everything to do with how good a guy ends up turning out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of really good players that people that have fallen off that have, you know, 7-8 year careers when they should have been playing for, you know, 12 to 15 just because they never learned how to play and no one ever pushed them or they were just kind of freelancing. And I think that Dallas is a great example of what a good organization does.
Tommy Beer, friend of the show, 29.5 points, 10.7 rebounds, 9.3 assists are his averages right now. He just tweeted this. That's just a crazy stat set, you know, 30, 10, and 10.
They're winning, too. It's not like it's like just empty stats, you know? It's not like
and they have
like,
Porzingis. And so it's not like they need, like, he's the one guy. He's like James Harden, Houston. You know, they have other players, and it's fascinating, and it's a great height that you can't teach it. You know, like we talked, I think, in the pre-draft stuff about how, you know, explosion, not necessarily knowing if he'd be able to beat guys off the dribble and stuff, but, you know, I mean, if you got a good handle and you can see over the defense and you can get that shot off whenever you want, like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I was the guy who picked Ayton number one in that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I said I went with Ayton.
I went with Doncic one, didn't I?
You did.
All right.
You said
sign me up. That's two. That's two, Vlade. That's two I got for you.
You said his floor was too high, and so that's what I remember your argument there. But the thing too is like. I think that maybe we're seeing, like, if you have that kind of a body, maybe you're not the fastest guy, but in today's NBA, when no one can touch you, and everyone's switching, you got these crazy mismatches, and then the other thing is like they're just letting you, like, Luka could get the ball at the top of the key, and then he backs up, you know, 5 dribbles, and you got a guy that's just standing there, not taking up space. Now he's already downhill. I mean, you don't have to be Kobe Bryant athleticism to get by guys in today's NBA. So you couple that with a tight handle and great vision in passing, you got Luka Doncic and the whole idea of like this, you know, off the chart athlete. And he's not a bad athlete. You know, it's not like he can't move. You know, he's just not a high level NBA athlete. But, you know.
I think that might be my biggest surprise. And then also Trae Young. And sorry to throw you in there. I'm with you. I mean, I was completely just fading Trae Young's NBA career from the beginning, and mostly because of defense. And those two guys, like, they're not, you know, everybody keeps waiting for the bottom to fall out of the Trae Young thing. And typically when you're the last guy on the court, which he pretty much is because of all of the things that have gone on in Atlanta for guys to be out of the lineup, John Collins, another guy. My God, the NBA, they definitely got on top of it this year. But you expect his field goal percentage to go down. It's not. It's going up. And that's a testament to the way that the game has changed. But his ability, Trae Young's, that is, to, you know, just take advantage of the different rules and also be very quick and have a quick trigger and splitting those double teams. You know, guys don't know how to hedge, or pardon me, not hedge, but trap on the pick and roll anymore, blitz it anymore. He's beating that consistently.
Isn't that weird? Like, that was something that you would expect any, like, varsity high school program, if the coach said we're going to trap the screen and roll, to be able to do it. Guys come so wide when I've never seen, forget about Trae Young, I'm talking about average offensive players. I've never seen so many average offensive players split traps the way that it happens in the NBA now. Like, it's like, so I think, like, because everyone copies, all the lower levels copy the NBA, and since everyone's switching in high school too, guys just don't know how to do it. I mean, they're like the people. It's so weird because you're already. I don't understand. You're already right there. The screen's coming. How hard is it to track
No,
them?
it's like it is with everything else. They're not doing their work before. Why guys like Draymond Green are so good at defense is like they see it happening and they just sort of like already know what they're doing and where they're doing it, and you're just not getting mentally beat, And
Right.
so like if you're going to come up on that screen, you got to know that you can't get beat on the inside. Like
Right.
no matter what. And it's like a no, you're not going to beat me on the inside here. Like you can beat me on the outside, but you're not beating me on the inside. And
It's too in almost every single case we're talking about. The guy with the ball is the one that we're trying to get it out of his hands. Like you can't. Like it's not like how are you confused on what we're doing or why we're doing it?
yeah, because
You know,
I mean,
it's just-
like that's like the worst thing that can happen. it's,
It's the worst thing that can happen. We want to take the ball out of your hands, so we're going to trap the screen and roll, and you let it split. So now there's like 4 more options available to the guy we didn't want with the ball.
yeah,
And it's so
it's we'll talk about Sacramento in a minute, but the dumbing down of the game, even in this information age, is
Yeah.
also a weird thing. And I don't know if there's like a media element to this, where I got the trial on in the background and you're going to hear like half the country say one thing and half the country say the other. And it's kind of funny because sports very much parallels that, especially in the NBA where there's so many games and the local teams have so much kind of control over how the media presents stuff. I mean, guys say some stupid stuff out there because like the local TV guy is all over something, but like people don't understand just basic good defense or bad defense or what is the purpose of this defensive player on this particular play. They just have no idea, it feels like, anymore. Let's switch to disappointments. Phoenix, by the way. Phoenix, I'll leave it for the thing that I started talking about.
you're surprised. You're
The
disappointed.
minute that that Ayton went down, I was like, can I just bet all my money on the Suns being good?
Oh,
I did. I swear, I did.
Andrew.
I had to feel a little bit bad saying that, but like, it was just so obvious that it was going to happen. Anyway, we move on. Disappointments. I don't have any disappointments. Like, I mean, I do, but I don't have any. Like, I think I know who you're going to say. Can I predict it?
Is it who? Is it going to be Portland?
It was Portland.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is they had, even with that number 1 pick, they had very little room for anything to go wrong, and everything has gone wrong. So, Lillard is hurt.
My favorite thing about their plummet is that like the entire world knows that Hassan Whiteside is just terrible. Like on Twitter, you're seeing in real time people just kind of reacting to the way he plays the game, and
he's your classic like, I don't know the dude, but like it certainly seems like if he wasn't 7'1", he would not be playing basketball for a living. Like if he had his chance to do anything in the world, it wouldn't be basketball.
The stories out of Sacramento are legendary, I gotta say. Like I forget what his rookie scale deal was or rookie contract. It wasn't much. He definitely went out and got a Lambo. Like
Nice.
right off the bat. He took DeMarcus Cousins to the ground in a practice apparently, which is just great. And you know what? This hasn't been talked about enough. Like the DeMarcus Cousins documentary that's on Showtime right now that none of you have watched.
Documentary on?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Like none of you have watched this. It was like 3 a.m. I was researching, and then I saw the thing on Showtime. It was DeMarcus Cousins documentary. I was like, "What the? Are you kidding me?" Like, so I watched it. It is the worst piece of anything you will ever see on TV in your entire life. It is so bad that you have to watch it.
It's like a friend of his or something? Or what?
Yeah, that's what it kind of it plays off like the agency that reps him like promised him this at some point in time.
Oh, Lord.
And then they had to make the thing, and like they tried to make it like aspirational, but really, nobody cares about you and your getting back to, speed. There's no, I mean, yeah, player gets injured. It's a big deal, but like in terms of a documentary trying to make a big deal about something, it's funny. It's really funny. And Hassan Whiteside took him down in a practice, which was funny because like that's something that DeMarcus Cousins needed at that point in time. But we move on. So Portland, disappointing, those guys. Carmelo Anthony, I mean, that's the talk of the town right now. I don't know. Do you have a fresh take there?
A fresh one?
Yeah. I mean, anything new to offer to the conversation?
He's like, to me, I hope that if Trae Young, like I hope the key to Atlanta, like to me, Trae's a one-dimensional player. He's really good at that one dimension, but he's a one-dimensional player. So it's up to Atlanta as an organization to build a proper team around him. Carmelo Anthony had that in Denver. He had the perfect team for himself where all he had to do was score 27 points a game, and they needed him to do that, and he wanted to run to a bigger market. And his career has plummeted ever since. So I hope that if Atlanta is able to do that for Trae Young, that he says thank you and stays and doesn't go, oh, well, I need to be in LA or I need to be in New York.
I don't think Trae's going to do that.
I don't think so either. But I also think that if things aren't working out for them as far as wins and losses, and they bring in a legitimate coach that's going to say, hey, you need to cut back on this, and we need to do this and that, and you need to give the ball to this guy a little more. I just hope that he's embracing it and doesn't have too many yes men around him that go, oh, man, he's trying to hold back your game, man. He's trying to do this to you. That's what, him scoring 28, 29 is great, but, like, to win a championship, he might have to score 24. And I hope that he's ready for that and actually wants to do that. That's what I like.
What you're saying is something I've been thinking about with both him and Luka is, okay, so they're having these huge numbers, and, I think Atlanta, it's fair to say they were playing above expectations, before a lot of, things hit them. But what do they do when the defense really schemes down? Right. You are not beating us. You are everybody else will, but you won't. So there's that. When does Atlanta show up on the scouting report, or not even the scouting report? Just like when you look at your list of 4 cities that you're going to, when you see Atlanta, go, oh crap, we got to play hard that game. That kind of a thing. So for both guys, and then how do they get exposed defensively at all? Like, the best way to take down a good offensive player is make them defend all games. So those things are my next questions with those guys. Back to Portland and Melo. He's so, I mean, one of the things I wrote about in the newsletter, which you guys should all subscribe to, just go to hoop-ball.com/newsletter, and you could get my free newsletter where I write a significant amount every week on all things NBA, Kings, fantasy, you name it. There's a section on life, Koz. I'm writing about life now.
Oh, boy. I'll look at that. I need some lessons.
Of what not to do. The Melo forcing his way to New York, and then Jim, the idiot Dolan, that guy, like giving half the team away to Denver, even though there was no other bidder, like no legitimate bidder in that process, and Melo being
and he was going to come there anyway.
He was going to come there anyway, and then it's like Carmelo was like, I want this trade to be as big as possible, so I am traded for half the team. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I can't get into the guy's head. I don't know if he thought that, but it just seems very sort of NBA at that time period.
I don't know if we could blame that on him, because
but don't you want your team you're going to be good? Like, if you had the juice that he had with Dolan at the time, couldn't he just be like, hey, Dolan, cut it out. I'm coming over here. Don't trade half the team.
Yeah, I don't know. The Knicks make a lot of bad decisions, so I don't know if we can. put that put make him a part of the decision making process there. I just know that it was just a bad move, and now more stuff comes out. I mean, he's never spoken ill, I don't think, of George Karl, but
Oh,
but
I bet he's got
I don't
stories.
know. I don't know what was going on there at the time, but they were winning. I mean, they were winning. So, and I think that George Karl seems like just more of like one of those more just duplicitous guys that, you know, it wouldn't shock me if no one had a story, And then I think that's when I was listening to Kenyon Martin, it's really sidetracking here. When Kenyon Martin, when he said the stuff about him and I forget who else, like Kenyon Martin seemed, he was angry and he was ranting, but he seemed generally hurt because I feel like he was like, dude, why is this guy saying this about me?
Yeah, that's his move, though.
I always like Coach. Why is he saying this stuff about me?
One thing about coaches that I'd say probably 75% of them don't want to play ball with the media. Like, it's not a game I want to get into.
Absolutely.
George Karl was an expert at that.
Yeah.
He wanted to do that. I watched him sit there and take questions from the last guy in the room. But it wasn't because he's a nice guy. He knew that he was putting in the work required to be an NBA coach and getting everybody on the same page. Portland just, no depth, and power forward was the question mark heading into the season, and you lose Zach Collins, and now you've got Carmelo Anthony, who I thought, to me, I thought he would be so kind of pounded by the media for all the things that he is, that he'd almost be underrated, showing up, and that he would be in better shape than we would think he would be. And he looked kind of like he didn't look out of shape. He didn't look like he was in great shape. He can still hit a jump shot. I literally turned on the TV and watched as he missed a shot. He put his head down, and his guy turn and sprint, and then they lost 2 points. And I was like, yep, we're here. And it wasn't because he didn't know the defense, and it wasn't because he didn't know his teammates. It was because Carmelo Anthony does not run back to play defense. All right. My other disappointment is the Spurs, just because they usually win.
Out there.
And
this could be the end, huh?
And maybe the way that they're losing a little bit, like they seem like they might realize that they're bad. I don't know. But Ja Morant, he's pretty good, man. He's
big Ja.
What I find most pleasing about his game is that he can make a underhanded scoop shot with either hand from anywhere within sort of like inside the 3-point line.
It's kind of like Kareem's hook. He keeps the defender does their work and gets down there, and you're like, oh, okay, good, I got him at 16 feet. No, he's still gonna throw that thing up there. Don't you worry.
That tells me that he has played just a ton of basketball, like by himself, out on the court shooting around, not with any fancy machine, spitting him the ball. He's just getting the ball, and he's kind of just like, I've been out here for 5 hours, and I'm going to just start flipping the ball up underhanded toward the hoop. I'm really bored now, and that's so powerful, man. He's got quickness for days, athleticism for days, but like that little gear where, like, if he gets the tiniest edge on you, he can now go into that sort of leaning, falling. If you go try to block it, you're going to foul him. That just angle, and then he can just score. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me in baseball, like there's no more, like I was watching this dude talking about hitting. He's like, there's not going to be any more Tony Gwynns or Vladimir Guerreros, because like the kids coming up, they spend hours in the pitching cages with the pitching machine, and they don't play on their own. And those guys were so good at hitting bad balls. And like now pitchers, if you have some nasty stuff, it's easy to get even the good hitters out if you're confident because their swing is the same way because they spent since they were 12, they've been getting a pitching machine that's throwing it right down the middle, and then they can just perfect their swing. So if you get it in that wheelhouse, yeah, they'll hit a home run every single time, but they're never going to be able to improvise from that. And he's one of those guys that just has all sorts of like these, kind of reminds me of like a Sharunas Marshallonis on steroids or something. You're like, why is he shooting?
It was Marshallonis that was on steroids. Allegedly. Kidding. Big Warriors fan.
Like, one of those shots wasn't even necessary that I saw. Like, he just did it anywhere. It's like, all right. But he's fun.
He definitely has the big game mentality. Like, he just doesn't back down. I mean, I forget who they were playing, and they kind of went back and forth. I think they hit overtime, and he was just out of this world good. And you could just tell he's special. And
well, how about him destroying Utah on Mike Conley's return? Just like absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk about flipping the page. Like, he's just like, they're like, yeah, it's great to have you, Mike. We appreciate you. Get out. We got something way better now.
Teams in the way they unceremoniously dump their players. Same thing happened to Zach Randolph. I mean, they just said, go ahead and leave, Zach. We don't care. And they love him in Memphis. They love him in the building, so it's not like hard feelings or anything. But yeah, Memphis, I mean, Brandon Clark, first of all, I mean, he's just, everybody knew he was going to be good. How he fell to them at like 19, that's crazy. He's just, and what's funny too is he was profiled as like this sort of like really super athletic, like Blake Griffin type. And he is thin as a rail. He's like a 3 to me. He can't shoot, but he's like a 3.
Anytime, like, I always think that's so funny when people go like, they go that route, like, oh, he's like instead of just saying like he's pretty athletic, they go, oh yeah, he's like Blake Griffin. It's like, dude, like when Blake Griffin came out, he was like literally like one of the most athletic power forwards we'd seen since like Sean Kemp or something like that. Like there's not going to be just like another Blake Griffin athleticism guy, but that's the first thing that like media pundits go to. Like, oh yeah, that guy can really handle the ball. He's like Isaiah Thomas. It's like, really?
I had a guy last night on Twitter yelling at me, which is kind of what happens in Sacramento. He's like, but all the media guys say this, and I'm like, they are the last people I listen to for my basketball analysis. Oh, right. People are so helpless. So Ja Morant, I think he has a chance at that wild, not really wild prediction that you made, but very kind of different than everybody else had, that he could compete with Zion. Like I can see it. Like Zion, obviously it's unfair because he's injured, and Zion's going to be great. But Ja has to me that, like, when you look and see what he's doing right now, imagine him with the proverbial 15 pounds of muscle and still being able to get by guys and still being able to get vertical. And, heaven forbid he learns how to shoot a little bit better.
And I think the other thing where he's really a problem is he for athletic as he is, he plays at a bunch of different speeds offensively, which is really, guys just don't come into the league like that, especially when they're that athletic. They're just like, I'm just going to blow by. I'm just going to go at 100 miles an hour. But he sets up guys really, really well and still runs the team. And just like, the screen comes and he just moves around it. He lulls guys to sleep. Then he puts his head down and go. He's very, very crafty and just like mentally ahead of the game. So, I mean, his improvements, it's going to be tough. Like it's going to be interesting, but he's going to be a really, really good player.
Let's talk some Kangs.
All right. You got a little bit of time.
You said so, Koz. No, I don't have much here. I really don't. I mean, follow my Twitter feed. You could get, I'll even go easy on the listeners. The Rashawn Holmes, I'll say this, and then everybody can laugh at me or whatever. I think he's a first team All NBA defender. Like, I really do. Just his combination of lateral quickness, vertical ability, the instinct that I think he plays the game with. He doesn't read the plays wrong, pretty much ever to me. What a huge signing for the Kings. And the fact that they couldn't get him for the third year, it's so. I feel bad because it's like you're the only team in the league that got this. So, congrats. But man, if they could have gotten a third or a fourth year, even like that sets you up cap wise for everything. Like you've now got your big man locked in. I think he can play with Bagley, but like defensively speaking, like. You lock down a huge piece, and now you can spend your money elsewhere. So it's a good news, bad news situation because he's going to get paid in about 2 years or under 2 years now. But the start was, I remember hitting you up. I was like, oh man, it is bad in Sacramento. It is bad. And Walton has actually turned it around, and there's a lot of, I wrote serendipity about it. Like they got lucky with a few of the wins that turned them back around and gave him the breathing room, that he needed. But now that they've really added, their sets have gone from they had 2 sets. One of them included Rashawn Holmes, who Walton literally before the season started said, I haven't seen much of him, so he didn't even know he had this guy. And he certainly wasn't scheduled to play much at the start of the year. Now he's their base offense. And so they had literally 2 sets. Now they've got about 10 pet sets that they run that are variations off of those plays that they like the most. And they're starting to be run crisply. And so I'm more impressed with Luke Walton today than I was 2 weeks ago when I was like, oh my God, Koz, you have got to see this.
A couple weeks ago, you're about to, I know what you're going to do. You're going through something with Walton.
It was crazy. I mean, literally every single thing he did not go well. And to the point of the bad luck stuff where he would keep Bagley in the game in a 30-point game, and then 3 people got injured on the same play that shouldn't have been in the game. So they're not running. That's the big thing there. That's like a purposeful decision. I think it's a little narrative-y where they're like, we need to learn how to play in the half court. We need to learn how to play in the playoffs. So we're not going to run anymore. I'm interested to get your take on that because I think they should still run. But
it's early. Just because they haven't run to the tune that everyone.
They're last in the league in pace, basically.
But I don't even know what pace is. Is pace just the time you take a shot in? Because if that's the case, then because I think it's kind of the problem, especially for bad teams, is everyone falls in love with pace and getting it up there and chucking it up.
That's fair.
It's kind of hard to, I think once you go down that road, especially with young guys that everyone seems to go down, I think it's hard to unteach that. As opposed to teaching how to properly execute a half-court set, that's really difficult. Everyone's always going to be able to run because that's all you've done your whole life. It's not like even if Luke Walton is like adamant that we don't run.
Yeah, he's holding both hands up with a stop sign. I'm kidding about that, but they all are.
Say he was. If he decided at game 40 that, okay, guys, we got it, now we're going to open up a little bit, it's not like they'd have to relearn how to run. They just start running, but they would have a better understanding of how successful that they could be in the half court. So maybe you don't force it as much. Because when I see the good teams play the bad young teams, and the bad young teams are playing really well, they don't know how to stop it in their fourth quarter. 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they were up 22 and now they're up 11, and they still take those quick shots. And you're like, you gotta slow it down. You gotta go to the pet sets now. Because now the other team's playing. Now they're in a little bit of a groove, and you got to stop this bleeding. Taking another 3 with 18 seconds left on the clock isn't going to do it.
I think
So
sorry, go ahead.
maybe he just don't know. So I think maybe he's just. I mean, this guy is. He's been on some good teams. He's been on some good teams. Had a great coach. Assistant with the Warriors. I think. Maybe he's decided that this is going to be. Maybe he knows this might be his last hurrah. And if he's going to go out, he's going to go out doing it the way that he feels is best.
He got a 4-year deal, and I thought that all these moves were very 4-year moves. Like you got all that time left on your contract. You're like, I want to do this my way. And in his case, I think he really believes that you have to play slow in the playoffs. Now, there's been articles that debunk that. The pace has increased as we've gotten into this sort of pace and space era in the playoffs. So it's not like teams aren't running in the playoffs. I think what has been the most interesting about it is there's 2 things happening at the same time. One, I think there is a tiny bit of luck factor. They went on a 5-game stretch where they were very good and they were not running, and they were playing some bad teams in that stretch. So most of those games they won, some of them they lost, and they were really kind of playing bad basketball. But to get those wins, it really gave them the confidence that they needed, the cover that they needed to sort of just keep grinding at what they were doing. And then getting the Holmes piece, I mean, he's literally the entire offense right now. He sets every screen. They're featuring his screen as the purpose of the play now. And it's just working because, of course, it's working. We've been saying it's going to be working, for the last couple of years here. And so that without that one piece, your half-court offense, and this is how it looked in the very beginning, because Holmes wasn't playing. He was also playing with second unit, so it wasn't really consistent with what he was doing. They were really bad. And some of the rotations that he was putting out there, these are guys that Vlade signed, and also sort of Luke's guys, the veterans, the Corey Josephs, the Trevor Ariza's of the world. Those guys were really struggling. So you had the offense would just kind of, they'd hold the ball at the top, not really know what to do with it very much. 20 seconds would tick down, and then they'd fling up some really bad shot, and they did that quite often. So that stuff has gone away a little bit, and it really comes back to the India trip. I think they really did get hurt by that. I don't like to throw that out there, like give people the pass, so to speak.
Just throwing it.
I mean, it's like, to me, it's like abundantly obvious. They had 2 sets, one with a guy that really wasn't a part of the game plan, and then now they got 10, so it's like, theoretically you want to do that before the season starts. So the Kings, very surprisingly, are now 1 game under 500. I think they're ahead of their Vegas win total pace, which is nice because I bet that. And they've got a shot to make the playoffs, and all their guys are hurt. So be interesting to see how things work when they come back, though, because now everybody's getting their touches, everybody's happy and fed. You're going to have Bagley, and then ultimately down the road, Fox come back, and then things will get tight again, and we'll see exactly how well they handle that. Dwight Howard, before we go, one of my surprises was the Lakers, and some of it is the fact...
We're so down on those. It's pretty funny.
I still am a little bit. I mean, Rondo just got back.
I know it's kind of funny though. I don't think you really take into account how easy it is for great players to win regular season games.
I'm not. Hey, I took the under. If they hit the under, then all my trash talk was fine. If they hit the under, but what's most compelling about them is really Dwight Howard, because like if he doesn't show up, you got JaVale McGee and the big lineup that they pose there, and I think that one gets played off the court in the playoffs a little. Like, JaVale's getting up there in age. He could still block shots. He could still do this and that. But, when you look and you see Dwight Howard out there, he's still Dwight. He does Dwight stuff, whatever. But, God, he looks pretty damn athletic and pretty damn spry. Like, and I don't know if that was your angle on the whole Dwight Howard thing.
Nah, I mean, well, yeah. I mean, he looks good. He's lost a ton of weight.
Dude, is that guy even lifting weights anymore?
don't. Probably not.
His legs are as thin as any player in the league.
Yeah, I mean, his whole body is. I kind of like. There was one time in the preseason when I saw him, and I was like, or maybe it was the first game.
He looked like a pair of skinny jeans.
He looked like what?
A pair of skinny jeans out there.
Yeah, I was like, dude, who is that dude out there, man?
Who is that thin dude that needs to eat something?
But when you got like a chronic back thing like him, and he's had knees, it's like, dude, you can't be carrying that weight around, So I don't know what he's doing, if he's just doing strength bands or whatever, but he looks a lot more spry out there. And I think, and I got to give some credit to Vogel, who I thought was a good coach. I don't really know what happened in Orlando, but, they're doing some things that I didn't expect them to do. One, they're really like embracing their size when, as the league is going to have been waiting for, we've been waiting for a team forever, and like they're actually doing it. They're funneling everything to the big guys. LeBron is actually playing on the block.
He also looks like he took last season off.
Well, no, he didn't look like it. He did.
Well, yeah, no, I know, and that was one of my caviats to this whole thing.
He definitely took last season off. He took last season off before he got hurt. That wasn't even.
They are embracing their size, and it's suffocating, man. Like I think I'm gonna take the Clippers regardless, but that lineup is just really intriguing in today's NBA because LeBron can go down and LeBron's actually getting torched on defense still. Like I forget who took him to the rack the other day.
A couple of blocks and stuff, but it's like he's still not playing hard on defense. Like don't get it twisted. Like there was a play like what was the one game where Danny Green hit the game winner or hit the game to send in the overtime? The possession right before LeBron James was in no man's land, like it was nobody's business, and it caused a horrible rotation. And Dallas hit the shot to go ahead, and they were just like, and whoever was doing the broadcast are like, well, that's just a good shot by Dallas to just doing things like
that. Was the point this guy on the internet was making? Well, the opposing TV guys say he's good at defense. You're talking about Corey Joseph in this case. It's like these guys don't watch anything other than their own team. And with LeBron, they're going to be like, that was great defense by LeBron. No, it was not great defense by LeBron.
It's just funny. Yeah, you can't listen to TV. Because in the next play, when Danny Green hit the three, like Dwight Howard definitely held Seth Curry on the screen. But Seth Curry was way too far away from Danny Green. Like they didn't like he shouldn't have been in the position to have an illegal screen set on him. Like he should have been right because they needed a three. So if you need a three and you're playing the Lakers and you're covering Danny Green, you just stand by Danny Green. You're shoulder to shoulder with him. So the fact that that Seth Curry was in his help defense was hilarious. But of course the commentator was just like, oh yeah, that was an illegal screen by Dwight Howard. It's hilarious. But if you know basketball, it's kind of hard not to watch with the volume turned off.
And people are I mean, we'll close it on this. People are on me because I'm not praising Nemanja Bjelica, Corey Joseph, and I'm sure somebody else that I'm forgetting. And it's because the announcers are praising them. And it's because the announcers are very good friends with Vlade Divac. That's their job. That's what they do. But it doesn't mean that that's what's actually happening on the basketball floor. And, if you get your analysis from I don't know, Stacey King in Chicago, who's the worst team announcer, play-by-play guy, color analyst? I don't know who's the worst. Maybe we'll figure that out.
It's the dude in Cleveland, man. The dude in Cleveland's the worst. That dude, I haven't heard him since LeBron's been gone. But when LeBron was there, it was almost like, dude, you're the most uneducated LeBron, just a crazy LeBron fan. That was just, LeBron could come down and throw the ball off someone's foot and he'd be like, "Hey, if you're playing in the NBA, you got to go down and get that thing."
I believe you're talking about Austin Carr.
Austin Carr, yes. Austin Carr. Oh my God. It's like to the point where it's funny now. Now it's like the last couple of years I've listened to him, it was just like, dude, this dude's just hilarious how bad he is. Yeah, he's the worst. He's absolutely the worst. Stu is pretty bad in LA too.
Oh God, I can't do it. Dude. Love Mike Trudell, friend of the show. Can't do it.
Yeah, tough, dude. He's tough to live. He's tough to listen.
They need somebody's got to do the announcer, NCAA tournament style rankings and really get on top of that. It's a good piece of content. Free advice from the Aaron Bruski. All right, Koz, we got to get out of here. So that's going to do it. Unless you have any flaming hot Dwight Howard takes you want to fire in there.
Oh, I'm happy for the guy. Seems at peace. He's good. Good for him. And the Lakers need him.
When Eric Swalwell, here's how I'll close it. I don't know if you got a chance to do this. Eric Swalwell, the politician, was on TV, and somebody let out a huge fart, and it was just like right in the middle of what he was saying. And I think it was Chris Matthews from NBC or MSNBC. Like somebody got caught with a hot mic. I immediately thought of Dwight Howard. That's all I got. You can find us online at www.twitter.com/KOZANDBRU show, where we have gone 972 days without a tweet. Facebook.com/KOZANDBRU show for all of your favorite onion jokes. Koz, have you been on it or not?
Oh, yeah. I'm an onion. Dude, I'll tell you one off the air. I'll tell you a story off the air. I couldn't post it, though, because it's in such bad taste, but it was hilarious.
My favorite. And I believe that's our only other social media channel. But do find us at hoop-ball.com, where you can get all of your NBA action. Another one's in the books, Koz. Peace.
Peace.